So, I thought I'd do a video on my chapter 1 and 2 solution and what I initially built here and some of the farms. But mostly what I want to mention is the sponsor of today's video, the Rending Gale. This is from Reliquy and it's mob drops. This is very hard and these are very hard, except for the fact that this can be purchased with money. And in fact, all of the components of this is 2 gold, this is 2 gold. This, you probably have both of these, but this can be purchased for 1 gold. And if you need a gas tier, you can get these. These are each 48, I believe. So this entire thing can be purchased with nothing but money. And it provides direct flight. You can use it with an elytra if you want to, but it moves just as fast like this. And if you go down towards the ground, it cancels your fall damage. If you want to cancel fall damage, the long fall boots a definite something that you're going to want. You can put double jump on them, and they cancel basically infinity fall damage. No problem. So the good thing about flight is much better than the magic feather, which requires an elytra and a beacon and is a pain. If you put one of these on a pedestal, which just requires 4 diamonds, and then turn it on, unfortunately you can't have double jump, but this gives you creative flight. And it applies the buff, which you can see in the upper corner, and anytime you're in range, it will continue to reapply the buff. But you can fly pretty far. The buff lasts quite a long time. You know, I'm not using the staff here. This is just creative flight. I can fly all around, but now you see it's going out, and then I get back in range, and I'm flying again. So this windmill system was the first thing that I built in here. And initially, of course, it had just 1 windmill. As more power was needed, more windmills get added. Right now, I'm basically done with all the stress that I'm going to need for the rest of the build, and I still have about 5,000 remaining. So this creates 49,000 stress units, and that's plenty. Over there I have that's the spruce tree farm, and it uses a sliding piston the same way that Direwolf tried to create his first one, and it's actually in a lot of ways really hard to do it that way, but it works best for the 4x4 oddball trees. And so this is, like I say, the windmill system. I built this transmission initially because at that time this was all constructed in the Andesite age. So at that time I didn't have speed controllers. And so the best way to get a different speed was just through the regular transmission. This provides from 256 RPM down to 1 RPM, and all powers of 2. And the original idea is I was just going to run everything off these, and if I needed a higher speed, I would just pull it from one of these, and then underneath the base was going to be just a nice tangled mess of shafts as I needed more and more. It didn't quite end up working that way because a lot of things that I would have, like this powers the stamper in my central control pagoda, but so this technically I could run a 256 shaft from over there, but This is just a lot easier. And then a lot of things like the fan in the center there requires 140 RPM just because that's this fan. That's the level that is required so that you float just at floor level. Ooh, make a liar out of me. So, yeah, you should just float right off the top of it. And then if you want to get out, if you hold shift and you're in a stream, you'll go down. In any event, this is my kelp farm, which feeds directly into the andesite andesite production line. This is the only sort of external input, and that's clay balls, and those come from the cobble works that I have over there. So this is all of the things in here are all of the distribution of items over a distance I'm doing with computers. So there's a modem connected to this, and in this case, this is the computer that monitors both that and the iron level here. This right now is full, so it's back stuffing, but if I want to produce more, this is controlled from this computer, and eventually this computer is going to have, you know, tracking information and so forth, but I haven't gotten... I'm playing a video game for fun, and somehow I find a way to do computer programming in my video game. And then here's the fun part. I find a way to put off the computer programming that I need for the video game in my video game. So this is the, again, takes clay, mixes it with kelp, takes algal bricks, which are smelted here. Because this is a drawer, this andesite funnel acts essentially like a filter. An andesite funnel in a drawer equals filter. And we do the same thing over here. This will, oh no, yeah, this just directly inputs clay. So there's no filtering. But the only thing that gets output from here is from the spout. The way the spouts work is they will form if there's a compatible inventory in this block here, and only the result of a craft will be put out. The result of the craft will never appear in the basin if it's got one of these. It will output through this. And that gets made into andesite. The andesite comes up here. I used rails to transport the andesite cobblestone. Down there I have the andesite cobblestone setup. I like this particular setup. I'll show you how it works just a second. But even though there's a hole, you don't have to worry about falling into it. And then if you want to go down there, as soon as you go in here, this pops up and gives you room to go down without hitting your head, and then closes behind you. And the same thing when you're leaving. Pops up. There is, down underneath here, there's a what's called a mobserver, and that will observe anything in a 5x5 block. So the top of the mobserver's observing level is ground level. So as long as I'm above ground level, it doesn't go off. But as soon as I go below ground level, it goes off, opens that up. Really nice. So this is chapter 2, and it suffers a little bit from being compact, but that's the point. Its only downside is these 3 Certus quartz generators are a little bit slow, but it's fine. Like I say, I'm backstuffed. At this layer, again, these produce all the Certus quartz. These crafters create the seeds. Then they get dripped on. Up here, this is the Skystone destabilized Skystone that it creates, or so these Skystone dusts are created in these mills, and the trick to getting 4 of them to run in parallel is you need to make sure that there's a full stack in each. So if, for example, like this last one just produced Skystone and a dust, and we should see, we probably missed it, but this has just the Skystone blocks. It's a locked drawer, so those can pass through from the other side. They're all output on the side, and see this. Notice how that goes into the second one, then the third one, then the fourth one. That keeps all of them working in parallel. And that only happens because these first 3 were full. So that's how the Skystone is created. And again, we don't actually need 4. It's partially just for looks and partially because I thought I was going to be needing a lot more destabilized redstone than I ended up needing. So this front part is where we make destabilized redstone. And there's a little bit of a trick here. Like I said, the output from a spout is whatever was just crafted. So this will never output water, this will never output dust. This only outputs the volatile sky solution. And then that gets converted into destabilized redstone. And as soon as you can see the crystal comes in, that crystal comes in, as soon as it has enough destabilized redstone, it gets converted and dropped out to this depot, which is a valid inventory. So again, only the output of crafts. So that will be the 2 things that come out of here are uncharged Certus and polished rosestone quartz. Uncharged Certus can be pulled in by this just regular andesite funnel into, that's the Applied Energistics charger, and just a regular andesite funnel will only pull out the charged version, and this gets fed by magmatic dynamo. So this depot, like I said, it gets the 2 items. The polished rosestone quartz is pulled out by a smart chute, goes into this buffer drawer. As you can see, we're now kind of backstuffed. And so we have 25 stacks of these. And if we do the moving script, this will start populating, and then this is also running at the same time, and there's the chapter 3 and chapter 4 is all running simultaneously. And again, this could be triggered to watch the final buffer and only run when it's running low, but haven't done that yet. But mostly what I wanted to do for this video is just to point out to people how awesome the Rending Gale is, and the ability to get creative flight in a fairly decent radius without having to have beacons all over your base, without having to have huge temples of iron. All very easy, and the whole thing runs off of just feathers, which incidentally are also purchasable in the market. So money, once again, in this game, like in real life, money is overpowered. Okay,